Okay, this is Byron Gordon at SES London, day one. We just came out of the IAB Search Marketing Best Practice panel. We're talking to Gavin of the SearchWorks. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Gavin, your topic today was intellectual property ownership. And you essentially talked about the example about how an advertiser is interested in hiring an agency to run its campaign. Who owns the intellectual property when it comes to that transaction?
Sure. So essentially, and again, I'd like to just clarify that I'm not a lawyer, but I'm just speaking from my own experience on the market and common business practice. And currently, that intellectual property is owned by the agency. So the issue arises when an advertiser wants to terminate their contract with the agency, and the question is what happens to that account. Now the advertiser can choose to turn off the account and start all over, but there's lots of negative downsides to doing that, mainly around the quality score, the history of the campaign not being transferred, and also the time it takes to set up a complex search campaign. And so even though the intellectual property rests with the agency, common business practice dictates that the agency will transfer that account, access and control of that account, to whoever the client designates is the appropriate party, be it the client themselves if they're running the campaign in-house, or a new agency. So I would say that the only stipulation that is required in order for that account information, again, the access and control of that account to transfer, would be that the client has cleared its accounts with the agency, i.e. really that all of the invoices are paid up and have, as I say, a clear account with the agency.
So dovetailing on that, someone asked in the audience what level of information or in the transfer process are you obliged to give the advertiser? Yeah. Is that something you could address?
Sure. I mean, I would actually what you're obliged to transfer in terms of contractually, nothing actually. But again, it's common business practice that actually you do everything you can to make sure that everything, the account, in that snapshot, in that moment where you're transferring it, because account is a dynamic beast. It never stays the same on any given week. It'll always be different. And so at that snapshot, at that moment that you want to transfer it, it's, again, current business practice, and certainly what the IAB supports, is that the whole of that campaign, as is, in all of its glory, will transfer to the new agency. Now, there could be other aspects. For instance, depending on what technology, what tracking technology the client, the new agency uses, where it may be that you have to jump through a few hoops to allow a real smooth transition, so that the URLs have the new tracking in place, or whatever it is, just giving that information in a way that's palatable to the new agency. And it's really up to each of agencies to decide to what extent how many hoops they're going to jump through for this client, which of course is after all leaving them. But generally speaking, as I say, we like to think we can get any client back that we lose. So in those situations where that does occur, we pretty much do our best to make sure that all of that account transfers smoothly and efficiently.
Last question for you. You hinted at SEO agencies offering copywriting, and that might become a potential issue. You want to just briefly elaborate on that?
Sure. So basically, one of the many aspects that SEO agencies get involved with clients is SEO copywriting. So it takes a particular skill to write copy for a website that is search engine friendly. Now, really, the copyright issues that could arise are exactly the same as if you ask any external resource to write anything, for your website, for your company. But generally speaking, that doesn't come up as an issue so much at the moment. I think the reason for this is that SEO copywriters are not copywriters, professional copywriters. They're SEO analysts who know how to write good copy for search. And so this really hasn't been an issue. The SEO guys aren't really thinking about it. The clients aren't really thinking about it too much at the moment. But I do think that as the industry develops, that this will become an issue. And I think it's definitely worth clients just paying a bit of lip service to that when they're negotiating contractual terms with the SEO agency.
Gavin, thanks so much for talking to us.
Thank you.
And we're here live at SES London, day one. Stay tuned for more.